SCP-2804 Fire and Forget. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures updated as of May 5th, 2021. SCP-2804 is expected to have a profound effect on normalcy over the following 55 years. SCP-2804's containment strategy is thus orientated towards preventing the public recognition of its anomalous properties and the minimization of SCP-2804's disruptive effects. The exact containment strategy will thus vary with the frequency of affected structures and the number of potential witnesses. The Foundation must coordinate with local and state governments to ensure that no buildings are constructed in SCP-2804-B's path, either by acquiring the land in question or arranging for alternative uses. In the case of pre-existing buildings, the optimal strategy will be determined by SCP-2804's containment team. Buildings in SCP-2804-B's path should not be demolished sooner than necessary and should be reconstructed or replaced after it passed. This requirement may be waived if it would require excessive budgetary expenditures. SCP-2804-A1 through A3 are contained at the original locations and surrounded by false buildings and barbed wire fences. Access is restricted by specially authorized personnel. Person of Interest 2804-1 is under Level 2 observation at all times. It will be taken into Foundation custody for testing should it become associated with any further anomalous activity. Description: SCP-2804 is a phenomenon in which a wooden deck will instantaneously appear attached to a building. This is preceded by the appearance of red chalk graffiti reading, "Where's the deck? Fly," on the building. 11 hours and 13 minutes pass between the appearance of this graffiti and the materialization of the deck. Removal of the graffiti has no effect on SCP-2804. Decks created by SCP-2804 typically match modern architectural and construction sensibilities and will not cross property lines. These decks will not exhibit anomalous properties unless the property in which a building resides is too small or irregularly shaped to contain a conventional deck. Anomalous productions of SCP-2804 are designated SCP-2804-A. SCP-2804-B is a theoretical point that moves 3.4 meters per day, or 1.25 kilometers per year, with the bearing roughly 34 degrees north of east. Any building that SCP-2804-B passes through will be affected by SCP-2804. Assuming that SCP-2804 has maintained its current speed and heading since creation, its origin can be placed at Redacted, Dyson Avenue in Redacted, South Carolina. Redacted, Dyson Avenue is the home of Person of Interest 2804-1 Floyd Fly Whitaker, the owner of Redacted Construction Company. Addendum 2804-1 Projected Timeline of SCP-2804-B. Date: April 2039. Event: SCP-2804-B enters Redacted, South Carolina, and affects up to 24 buildings over the next 2 years. Notes: the purchase and destruction of buildings in SCP-2804-B's path has been deemed more cost-effective than amnestic administration for this time frame. Date: November 2041. SCP-2804-B enters the Charleston metropolitan area, affecting about 100 buildings per year for the next 35 years. Notes: containment will likely entail some combined of mass domesticization, preemptive destruction of buildings, and partial depopulation of Charleston via manipulation of the local economy. SCP-2804 upgraded to Keter Class. Date: January 2076. SCP-2804-B moves into the Atlantic Ocean. No additional buildings are affected. Notes: containment is trivial during this time frame. SCP-2804 downgraded to Euclid Class. Date: June 2000 Redacted. Event: SCP-2804-B approaches the geographic North Pole. Notes: SCP-2804-B's trajectory and activity past this point, if any, are unknown. Addendum 2804-2 Catalog of SCP-2804-A. 2 instances of SCP-2804-A were created prior to containment. Once this requirement for their creation were understood, a third was created via experimentation. Restricting a property to the same way multiple times does not appear to create identical anomalies. SCP-2804-A1 Data expunged. SCP-2804-A2 extends 64 meters vertically up the back of a suburban house in redacted South Carolina. In all aspects other than its orientation, it is constructed like a conventional deck. SCP-2804-A2 is classified as indestructible under standard destructibility guidelines. Any solid object that touches SCP-2804-A2 will immediately be rotated 90 degrees with respect to the ground, and then crushed against SCP-2804-A2 with a force in excess of 1 million newtons. This is invariably lethal to living organisms. SCP-2804-A3 is in an inactive state, a number of wooden planks located on a redacted beach, South Carolina. Individuals exiting the back door of an SCP-2804 affected apartment building in redacted South Carolina are transported to SCP-2804-A3's location. When approached by a live human, the planks of SCP-2804-A3 will float into the air and arrange themselves to form a staircase. When an individual climbs to the top stairs of SCP-2804-A3, the planks forming lower stairs will exit formation to create more stairs above the subject. SCP-2804-A3 will return to its inactive state when any individual falls off of it. Addendum 2804-3 Excerpt from an interview with Person of Interest 2804-1 Dr. Hammond. Mr. Whitaker, Person of Interest 2804-1, interrupting. You can call me Fly if you want, don't sweat it. Right then, Fly. Do you remember what you were doing the evening of December 10th, 2016? Well, that was about 4 months ago. I could barely remember what I had for lunch. Give me a refresher, will ya? That was a Saturday. The weather was sunny. You stopped at a gas station at 3:14 and bought a few 6-packs and 2 bags of tortilla chips. Oh, I must have had the boys over for cards. That's been a pretty regular thing since my wife died. Yeah, they'd probably show up around 6. We shoot the shit for a few hours. Don loses whatever he came with, and a few of us are drunk by the end of the night. I see. Sorry for your loss. Does anything about the night stand out to you at all? Whitney and Clarence got into it. Clarence smacked Whitney right across the face. Damn near broke his jaw, too. Clarence isn't invited to poker night anymore. Right. Anything else? Well... I think on the way home from dropping off Whitney, I passed the Wilkinsons' place, and wrote something on their garage door. In chalk, you know. It'd wash away. That's about all I could think of. And I can see from this document here that you did some construction for the Wilkinsons back in 2004, correct? Nodding. That's how I know them. That was my first project since I took over the business, actually. Were you aware that they removed the deck that you installed back in May? Pardon? The Wilkinsons got rid of their deck and built a patio instead. I'm not sure I understand. What don't you understand? Well, it's like... all of those words make sense on their own, you know? Most of them, at least. But put together, it's just... What words don't you understand? Well, deck for one. I mean, I know what it is in decking someone, or a deck of cards, but I don't see how either of those would apply. You're not familiar with the concept of a deck as an outdoor platform? Connected to a house and traditionally made of wood or wood-like materials? You've overseen the construction of many decks. Is there some other word you use for them? Person of Interest 2804-1 looks blankly at Dr. Hammond for 20 seconds. Interesting. Well, whatever you built for the Wilkinsons, they removed it. Did you know about that? I'm sorry, Dr. Hammond. I just can't get a grip on what you're saying. Maybe maybe I'm having a stroke? You're not having a stroke, don't worry. Dr. Hammond writes on a notepad for 45 seconds. Hypothetically, if someone wanted to build an addition to their house, but one of your projects was in the way, what would they have to do? Well, it's certainly a pickle, isn't it? I imagine they'd have to give up on their changes. I see. And suppose a natural disaster of some sort were to completely decimate someone's house. Like, immediately obliterate it and everything in a 5-mile radius. What would happen to the additions you made? Why would anything happen to them? Thank you for listening to SCP-2804. If you enjoyed this SCP, please follow the link in the description to the SCP Wiki and vote up this article to support it and the SCP Wiki as a whole.